it's Saturday, and we got a little project here in the shop today. We've got a Toro CCR Snowblower here, a little 3-horse jobber, newer style with the curved paddles. The complaint is that this machine, you prime it and it'll fire, but as soon as it loses that or uses that primed fuel, it shuts off. So we're going to do a little test here. I suspect that it had old fuel left in it at some point. I have sniffed the fuel, and it doesn't smell like the fuel in it is bad, but my suspicion is there's some nasty fuel in the carburetor, and or the carburetor has some deposits in it. So we're going to give it a shot here. This is an electric start model, but I'm going to go ahead and just do it the normal way. So the key's on, choke on, prime it a bunch of times here, and we'll give it a pull and see what happens. So it dies immediately. We'll try to get the choke off and just prime it. Yeah, it dies right away. So let's go ahead and pull this carb down and see what we can find. So the tools I believe we're going to need, I've got a little 1/4-inch drive ratchet and extension, some 1/4-inch drive standard sockets. They may be metric, but I'm pretty sure they're standard. I've got a nut driver, screwdriver attachment for my sockets. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this plastic cover off the bottom here and see what we end up with. I'm going to undo one of the screws in the control panel here because I believe that may go through there, I don't know. Picking up on it as I go here. And that is not the case. That nutsert that was in there is broken anyway. The other one's missing. So this has been apart before. We'll go ahead and take these. They're just like a self-tapping almost. Take those out of the shroud. I got a 5/16 nut driver here, so that seems to be doing the trick. And it looks like that may be it. I'm not sure. Looks like this will pull down and then up like that. So we'll go ahead and remove that. And then as far as the old carburetor is concerned, these don't have a fuel filter on them. They probably should. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to disconnect this carburetor and just go ahead and take it right off. First thing I'm going to do though, before I do that, I'm going to clamp that fuel line off so we don't lose some fuel through it. If you have a set of hose clamp pliers for clamping off hoses, that would work. I'm just going to use a pair of vice grips. You don't want to get carried away, you just need to collapse this line. And that should be good enough to do that. We'll find out if I got it clamped off far enough when I pull it off the carb here. The fuel line looks a little worse for wear, but I could probably cut that last 1/2 inch off of there and be done. I'm going to get a cup just to make sure that if we're going to lose any fuel out of it, that it goes in this cup. Take a little flat screwdriver and wiggle that off of there. So we lost a little bit of fuel, but not bad. I'm going to check to see if there's any garbage in the bowl of that, and before I do that I'm going to That fuel doesn't smell so hot right there, so it may just be a dirty float bowl and a sticky float. But chances are it probably just needs cleaned out. So we're going to spray some brake clean on that. Because I don't have any spray carb cleaner, we're just going to use this. I just don't want to get a bunch of garbage in the float bowl itself, taking it off. So can you tell I wasn't really prepared to make this video? I grabbed a couple of tools thinking I had what I needed. We'll get a little light on the subject here too. Alright, that might be a little more better. That looks like a 1/2 inch to me. Let's see if I'm right. It might be bigger. Might be metric. I'm sorry, I grabbed a 9/16 was my first choice. Oh, I grabbed a 13. Huh. That's where my 13 millimeter went. Okay, 1/2 inch it is. So we'll let that gas drain out of there. Looks like fresh stuff, doesn't look bad. Doesn't smell great, but it doesn't smell horrible. Alright, well, I think we found the answer to our problem. We'll take this carb off and clean it, but I'll show you what's in the carb. Oh yeah, that kind. See that schmutz down there? That'll plug her up. So let's go ahead and remove this carburetor. And it almost seems like somebody had this, this float bowl wasn't on right. The indentation in the float bowl was facing out this way, and the hinge is on that side. This should be on this way. So somebody's monkeyed with this before. We'll get the gasket off of there. And those are an Allen style. So before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to sort of set this float bowl up here and start the main jet back into it. I have a feeling that's what's going to be crapped up. I see somebody's inscribed on the frame of this thing 1105 new belt, so this thing's got a few years on it. Alright, so I'll grab the hexes and we'll take this apart. Now I've got a set like this, which are 3/8 drive. And it helps when you put your tools away, that way you can find them. But I've got like 3 other projects going on here. So I've got this little stubby ratchet here. I like these. Let's try 3/16, see if that's close. That is not close. It is smaller. Wow, amazing, it actually spins. Let's just loosen that one a little. Yeah. It's probably a special tool that you use for these, but I don't own it.
Now there is a governor linkage and a governor spring on this that you'll have to take loose once you get that far. Okay, we're loose. We're going to, we'll wait to pull the primer off. Just tip this to the side, get the carb isolator out of there. Okay, that's let loose from the governor. So now I have the unit in my hand. I just got to get this primer. And basically, all this primer does is it pumps gas right into the throat of the carburetor to aid in cold starting. Okay, now we're off. Get the mounting screws out. Sorry if I'm not in the picture here. Okay, and last but not least, we're going to remove that governor spring and bracket and take that off. Okay, so now here we have the carburetor. So we'll go ahead and get you guys backed up here a little bit before I continue on. This is all the old grime and fuel that's collected on this thing over the years. If you have a little toothbrush or something, it probably wouldn't hurt to use that right now. I'm really afraid to peel that gasket off because it's probably bad and we're going to try and reuse it. So the next thing I'm going to do, after I dump that out, is go ahead and open this float, take the float bowl off of it, and take a peek inside here. I know that float bowl has garbage in it. Now you can see it's had yucky gas in it. Look at the crap growing on the float bowl there. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the pin from the float bowl, or from the float itself, excuse me. Float's actually got a little spring on it there. And I'm going to put that pin back in it so I don't lose that little miniature spring. Okay, take the needle off of it also. I just don't want to lose that little spring. I don't know how detrimental that is, but it's probably there for a reason. Okay, now, the main things we need to be concerned with this, let's see if I can find something to point with. Okay, down in the throat of this carburetor, main jet right there where the fuel comes up through, that needs to be clear. That is where the seat, or where the needle seats for the float that lets fuel in. That has to be clear. And it's going to be really difficult to see. But let's see if I can hold the throttle valve open. I don't know if you can see just behind the throttle valve where the coming up through the center there is where that main jet is. That has to be clear all the way up to the top. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently take a razor blade behind the gasket that's on the face of this so that I can set this in my carb dip and let it soak a little bit, and I'll bring you back in a little bit once we've done that, and we'll go from there. Also, I'm going to clean all the schmutz out of that float bowl using some brake clean and a Scotch-Brite. And also, the last thing that I will get cleaned, sorry I'm kind of jumping around, this is the nut that goes up through the bottom. It's also meters fuel. There is a passage, take the gasket off of it here. There's a passage through there that goes up into the middle, and you're not going to be able to see that really well, but trust me, there's a passage in there, I believe. So we're going to get that cleaned out. And all I use for that is just take some multi-strand, like any kind of wire you could do 12-volt wiring with, and use those little wires to run through there. You don't want anything really hard or super sharp in there, because when you make scratches in that aluminum, it just makes another place for debris to accumulate. Another thing you can use is a piece of straw off of a straw type broom that you would sweep your floor with. If you can find a small enough piece in it, run that through there. So I will bring you back in a little bit. So before I go dumping this thing in the carb dip just yet, my first suspicion is this this right here. Okay, I said if you look down through there you can see a hole. Well, I'm going to stick a piece of wire through there, and let's see if I can figure out what I did with my little piece of wire. But basically I've got I hate having the viewfinder on the back of the camera. And this little piece of wire, and the hole that's in this guy is not very big, so we're going to go ahead and work that through there. I can't blow through it right now. I actually put my mouth over this part, and you should have air come out through here, and I can't get anything to come through it. So oh, there's a little piece of crap that just fell through there. So that may have been our main culprit, but we're going to go ahead and clean this whole thing. Sometimes it's this simple, sometimes it's not. Okay, I got air coming through those sides, so we're going to blow some compressed air with a rubber tip blowgun. I can feel air coming through the holes in the side. These are stamped on the bottom what size the orifice is. This is a 101, probably indicative of the size of the motor. This is a 3-horse. We're also going to do this, and you can probably see it if I spray some carb cleaner here. I'm going to hold it away from my face since I don't have safety glasses on. You can see it squirt out the 2 holes in the sides. That means that passage is now clear. So we'll set that off to the side. I'm going to grab a Scotch-Brite, and we are going to clean the funk out of this. First I'll probably just spray some brake cleaner in there and see what comes out. Wipe it off real quick. Sorry if I keep jumping out of the camera view. Yeah, there's still some schmutz in the bottom. Basically, this should be shiny in the bottom of here, and it's not. It's green, or that's old 2-cycle oil, one of the two. Could be algae. I've seen algae in these before, even though it's gasoline. So I've got a piece of gray Scotch-Brite. It's an old piece of fine Scotch-Brite. So we'll clean all that off, because even though it appears that stuff is just discoloration. It's actually a film, and if it starts to break down, that can also plug a jet up. So we want to make sure that we get all that crap out of there. I'm not quite done yet here. It doesn't take long unless it's real bad. Sometimes there's pitting and stuff in there, but you can see some stuff in the corners, but it's more shiny than it is green. So I'm going to go ahead and get that. We'll just do this one real time, I think, guys, and see where we end up. I may speed it up a little bit for you. And I'm trying to clean up that surface where that gasket sits. Now I could go buy a kit for this, but we're going to try it this way first to make sure I can get all the passages. If this thing wants to leak on me, then I may have to go next door and get a kit for it, or I may have to order one online. I'm not sure. Next door is my tractor dealer, Ford Tractor. They deal Toro, Skag, and Ferris, Shindawa. I think they used to have Husqvarna, but I don't think they do anymore. Okay, so that's as clean as that's going to be. I'll clean this little surface right where that copper washer sits. Some of them have a copper one. This one seems like it's fiber. So that's nice and clean. There you go. Upload that out with compressed air right before I'm ready to put it on. I'm going to clean holding the pin in this float bowl because I kept the, you can see that maybe a little piece of spring that's in the center. I'm just going to hold on to that because I don't want to lose it. Well, actually I'm going to take it off because I don't want to bend it. And we'll just set that right on that piece of paper with the pin next to it. We'll go ahead and clean the yuck off of this float itself with the Scotch-Brite. I'm not a big fan of putting these floats in the carb cleaner. They're just two pieces of brass that are soldered together in the middle. So I'll go ahead and keep Scotch-Brite in that. I'll bring you back in a few minutes. This will probably take me like 5 minutes. Next thing I'm going to do now that that float's cleaned up, I'm going to blow some compressed air up through the center, the main emulsion tube there, and make sure that's clear. And I'm going to blow some air, I don't know if you guys can see real well, through the fuel inlet where the needle seats. Blow that one first. Okay, we got air coming through there, so we're good. We'll blow through that emulsion tube, and I'll feel out here to feel if I can feel any air coming through the throat of the carb. We should be good on that one. That's clean. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to squirt a little carb cleaner through that emulsion tube, or brake cleaner. Tube's actually a little big, so, and it's running out the throat of the carb, as you can see. So we've got, that's good, and that's clear. Blow a little more air through there, making sure to keep our eyes out of the path of those openings. So I'm just going to do it away from my face here. Okay, so that came out. Also, there is a, it's underneath this Welch plug here. I'm not going to take it out because I just saw cleaner come through it. Let me get my pointing device here. Okay, this is a Welch plug right here. If you pop that out, there's actually a passage. You can see that little groove at the tip of my screwdriver. I actually saw a carb cleaner come through there when I blew out. So we know that we've got fuel coming that can come through there. That's another area to check. And when you blow through the fuel inlet, you've got to watch, because I just watched it pop out and roll under my floor jack. That's a good mistake to have, if you can see where it goes. I saw it roll over here on the floor. Now we're just going to have to find it. Here it is. This little fella is what your needle seats into, and that goes down in the bottom of that orifice right there. Now they make an installation tool for this. I don't own one. We're just going to squirt a little cleaner on it since it launched its way out of there. This one was not leaking fuel, so and you would install it. Oh, almost dropped it. There's two sides to this thing. Install it. Let's see if I can get it to set in my hand the right way. I don't know if the camera will focus. With this side up, the other side has numbers on it. I think you can sort of see that, and it's more flat. That side goes down into the bore. They do make an install tool for this. Like I said, I don't have it. I'm going to use this Allen key and maybe try and shove it down in there, maybe not. Maybe not. We have to put a little lube on that. We're going to gently blow through the inlet to get that back out. I'm going to cut my hand over it. Heard it pop out of there. It's in my hand. So we'll set that off to the side for the moment. And let's go ahead and get that installed back in there, and I'll bring you back in a second. I got that seat back in there, that little rubber piece. Now the next thing I'm going to do is set that back on the bench for a second. I'm going to put the spring, well, no, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to put the needle, and wipe that off and make sure it is totally clean. I can see a little scale on the wire that hangs it. So we're going to go ahead and slide that back in. Let's sort of just set that float up there for the moment. See if I can get it to stay. Slide the pin back through there now that the spring's in. Or take the whole apparatus out and get the spring where it needs to be. And drop the float. See, this is the fun about doing this stuff real time and not editing out the bloopers. course I dropped that on the ground. That's the best part. Alright, bring you guys a little closer here and so you can see what the hell is going on. We're basically going to put that pin back through that spring and that whole assembly there. One of these days I'll get it. It's kind of a dance. And I'll show you why this is so interesting to do. Okay, let's see if I can get the camera in focus. Back off a little bit. Okay, you can see the tip of my finger right there. That part of that spring has to be on the outside of that housing, and the other part has to touch the top of the float, and the pin goes through the spring and the hinge. So that's why that was fighting me, just so you know. That's actually the first one I've ever tore apart that works like that. Most of them do not have that spring in there. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is the float bowl has an indentation in the side, which means that's closer. That is your hinge side. Should probably put the gasket in it, make sure that the gasket doesn't have a bunch of shit on it. This one looks like it's a little worse for wear, but if it doesn't seal, then we'll go ahead and replace it. Looks like somebody has pinched this thing at one point or another. I do this a lot of different ways. Sometimes I'll put it on the machine first, or on the carb first, and then put the bowl on it. A lot of times these things will swell up over time. Take my screwdriver and sort of help it inside of the bowl. Hopefully this one doesn't leak. Alright. So now that I've got that on there and holding it in this position, if I blow through here I should be able to blow air. If I flip it upside down and the float is dropped and push the needle back into its seat, you shouldn't be able to blow air through there. Okay, I get air that way. Put it this way, see if it seals. That seems good to me. So we're going to go ahead and put this washer back on. I'd like to have a new one, but I don't. So put the washer over the jet, and we're going to thread that back on. And we're going to tighten that back down.
tight. All right, now we're ready to reassemble this onto the machine. You guys saw how I took it apart here. Get my chair out of the way. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put this spring linkage for the governor back onto the throttle plate. And then I'm going to get the rod here. It's just got a Z-bend in it. And we'll get that twisted back into its spot. No problem. I'll let that sort of hang there for a second. I'm going to wipe off this isolator gasket. It's got some funk on it. Now this is a two-stroke, and air leaks are definitely not your friend when it comes to these things running right. But as long as this thing runs okay, I'm not going to change these gaskets. So get the isolator back in there. Should probably have started a bolt in it first. Let's do that. Okay, that one's started. Let's get the other one started. And don't force these bolts because they are going into aluminum. That one's going in nice and easy. Don't over tighten them either, which is easy to do when you're manipulating a larger wrench. That's why I have this stubby and I'm choked up where my hand is just over the head of the ratchet. Okay, I'm going to live with that. Okay, that should be tight enough there. Take the ratchet out. I'm going to wipe off this tube for the primer. Make sure we're not blowing any garbage in there. Maybe I'll blow some air through that here real quick. All this does is pressurize the fuel bowl to shoot fuel up into the throat of it. And then last but not least, I'm going to cut a little bit off of this fuel line because I don't like the way it looks. If you don't have yourself a pair of these cutters, I suggest getting a set. They're not expensive. I think they're 10 or 15 bucks, and it's got a razor blade on it. They're great for cutting hose. There we go. Got the end of that off. Make sure it's clean. Slide it back over there. Put the little spring clamp on, and we're going to let the tension off of this fuel hose, and we're going to watch for leaks around this fuel bowl, because if that gasket leaks, it's going to leak here pretty soon, as soon as that fills up with fuel. So we'll keep an eye on that.
And when I reassemble this, I'm going to put some new hardware in here because it looks like it's foobarred itself pretty good. Just has these little plastic inserts in the metal like that. So this one has one of those on it and it pulled out, and this one, I don't even know if it's in there anymore. I can't even pick that up. So we're going to sit here and watch for leaks, and I will bring you guys back when it's time to fire it. All I have to do is put that cover back on, so you guys don't need to watch me throw a couple screws in that. I'll be back in a few. I decided before I put that back cover on, I better make sure that the carb work is sufficient and that we have no leaks. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the primer a couple times. 4 times. We're going to try pulling it with the choke off and see if it starts. Okay, so we'll go with choke, full choke. Probably should turn the key on. We'll try it with choke off, key on. Alright, we'll try choke. A couple pumps. Alright, choke off. Maybe I flooded it. Yep, I flooded it, pulling it with the key off. So she's gonna run. So I'll finish getting her put back together here. I'm gonna let it sit for about 10 or 20 minutes while I go wash my hands and make sure that we got no leakies on that carb bowl gasket that I was questioning. And we'll go from there. But I think we're gonna put the done stamp on this. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys later.